talk about packages, and there will be some typo logs as well. So please stay logged into your favorite cluster. So as you saw just before, you have now tried loading the R module, and all the centers have R as a module, but it varies a lot how many packages are installed with R. So, but what is an R package? Well, package is the main way of extending functionality of R, and there has been a very large number of packages made for very many different areas. So you can almost always find something that fits what you are going to work with. So it's always worth it to check if someone else did this instead of just starting out writing it yourself. So what is an R package? How do I find out which packages and versions are available? And what do I do if I need other packages than the ones available or than the ones available at my local center? And what's the differences between HPC2N, UPPMAX, LUNARC, NSC, and PDC? So first, we'll check if an R package is installed. And then we'll load and use some R packages. And if we can't, we will install them ourselves. And that's the objective for this session. So in R, a library is a directory containing installed packages. It's like a library for books, sort of. And there is one thing that might be confusing, and that is sometimes people will call it library, sometimes they will call it package. I've even seen someone call it a module. And it's common to refer to, for instance, DPLY as a library, and that is actually a package. So regardless, we want to know where the R interpreter searches for the packages so that it can actually find the packages we put there. So where are these libraries located? There could be several. And the easiest way to check is to start the interpreter and run the libpath function. So first I will log in, and I will log into UPPMAX. Write the whole path here. The thing is, I am at HPC2N right now, so I could log in by just typing UPPMAX, but I'm going to type the whole here. So now I'm logged in to UPPMAX. And I'm going to also log into Dardel just to log into a different system. Dardel at, let's see, and I cannot type today. And this should work because I have set up the SSH keys. There seems to be something else. Just a moment. Let me check. I'm just going to type in the password. And it's not going to. Typing the passphrases of. Good. So now I'm logged into UPPMAX and HPC2N, and I'm logged into Dardel at the KTH PDC. And I'm going to change to the project storage directory where I put everything. From the ports. And let's see. I'm going to do my list to see where you are. So let's see. Yes, Fleming project. So, it's 2025. Like that. Okay. And then I had to pull it from myself. No, I just deleted it earlier when I was testing stuff. Okay, now I have it. You see it's a very long path, and so on HPC to N. And now I also need to find the package. It's by R, and the one we're using at HPC2N is 412, I believe. So I will load that one. And as you can see, I need to load GCC and OpenMPI, and then I can load R. So I'm starting R. And now when I'm inside of R, I can check what the path is. Let's see. So this is the path to where the R software's extra packages will be installed for the whole site. So as you can see here, this is the site directory, and you cannot install to that one. When you are installing yourself, it will go to a different directory, and that directory will also be listed here when you have created one. And I believe I did that at change it, and also Dartel. So let's see what is Dartel. So I will also load the module at Dartel. I'm using this one. Yes. And here you can see there is this one path again for the site installs. And here I have also installed stuff myself. So here there is another one showing for where mine are installed. And there's one thing I should probably mention about Dardel. The very first time you log into Dardel, it is a good idea to create a module collection, I think is the word for it. And the reason for that is that modules are made in a somewhat different way on Dardel, which is that if you do module purge, it will remove a bunch of packages that actually, or module that actually needs to be there. And they are not sticky as they are at the other centers. And that means that first, when you are logged into Dardel, if you have been logged in before, then just log out and log in again. And then do module save and then name this collection something. It doesn't matter what. I call it preload because it helps me remember it. Then when you do a module purge, it removes all these things in addition to the ones you wanted to remove. But you can then easily restore them again with module restore and the name you gave this collection. So that works well. Okay, this was a side step. Let's continue talking about our packages. and there are larger or smaller amounts pre-installed at the various centers. It varies very much. At the HPC2N, there are around 750 packages with the R module and some additional ones in the module that's called R bundle bioconductor. But do note that the newer versions of R has fewer packages in the core R module, and they will instead be in a module called R bundle CRAN. Let's just put R here. And then I'm going to do module spider R bundle. Well, and show you that there are some here for the very newest ones. So the one I loaded, R12, 412, that one is fine. That will have most of it in the core module, so you don't need to worry there. But if you're loading a newer version of R, then you need the CRAN bundle here in order to get to those. So if you're at UPPMAX instead, the R packages module will contain almost all the packages in the CRAN and bioconductor repository. So there is a total of more than 23,000 R packages there. And that means there are not that many within the core R module, but most are in the R packages module. So you can get most this way on these two centers. At LUNARC, most come with the R module. And I believe the newer ones of R does the same as at HPC2N, where there will be in a CRAN module instead. At NSC, there is only a very small number of packages with the R module, and you have to install the rest yourself. And at PDC, there is some more packages with the R module. Again, you need to install several yourself. So, what does this help you if you don't know how to find out if the package is installed? Well, one way to check is to simply start R and try to load the package. And if that goes well, it was installed. Otherwise, you can use installed packages to get a long list of what is installed. And I could do that here at Data. That. And you can see here, it lists them here, and it also lists versions and things. And you'll get to do this in a very short moment. And one other thing you could do, you could simply say library, and then try install it to see what's there. And it is loading it, and it's also telling you there's loads of stuff. And we also have listed some other ways of finding out if something is installed, and you can find that under extra reading. But for now, let's try and do an exercise. All of you should try and start R, load the module, any prerequisites if there are, and then check if the packages pillar and caret are installed. And you do that just with this library. So try and do that, and I'll do it here.
So we don't need to go to some breakout rooms for this. We just do it on our own.
No, just do it yourself, because we are not enough people to, and it's a quick exercise. So just test and see if it works. And while we do this, if you talk to me here, then it's fine. I'll just cut that from the recording. And you can see at SPC2N, I could load it directly. Whereas here it has missing packages at data. And it will also, when you check, find out that you cannot load them at the NSC, but you will have to install them if you want them. I'm just removing the R packages I installed myself so that I can do some testing now when I'm showing it for you. So were you able to log in and start R and test if the packages were there? Okay. And I could say that they will be there at UPPMAX and SPC2N and also at LUNARC, but they won't be there at NSC, and only one of them will be there at PDC. So that means that you may have to install them yourself if you need these packages. And the question is, how do you install such a package? And it does happen that you will need to install R packages at all of the centers, though some, of course, more often than others. And many of those packages will come from CRAN, the Comprehensive R Archive Network. But sometimes you have found a package on GitHub or RForge or maybe even other places. And it's possible to install from all of those. And here I'll just look at how to install our package with automatic download and with manual download. It's also possible to install from inside our studio. There are some other ways of installing, and that will be under this extra video. So the very first thing you need to do is a bit of setup. You need to create a place for your own installed packages so that R can find them. And R has a configuration file in your home directory that's called .r environment. And just here, And I am going to open with Nano. And I will use that. This environment variable, which points to your home directory. So you write $, and then home in capital letters, and then a slash, and then R environment. If this file exists, it will open it. If it doesn't exist, it won't. And I have problems with Nano for some reason. It's interesting. I'm guessing that the things I loaded for the R module is messing with Nano. It was, yes. Anyway, as you can see, I already put this one line here. If you haven't already done so, then instead what you can do is that you can say touch and then $home/.r environ. That means the file will be created. And then when you have done that, you use this command here, which will take echo, that it will just repeat what you type. And in this case, you type this, and it will send it to the file in your home directory you just created that it does environment. You can also open it with Nano and then type in this one line here. This part of it. So there needs to be this part here in your .r environment file in your home directory. This part /home /u/user will be changed to the path to your home directory. For me, it is home BRYDSOE at SBC2N at tetralit. I could try open it as well, see how it looks there. There I have this line here, and that is because I put it into my project storage, which is also a good idea if you're going to install a lot of stuff, mainly because it will take space. But either make one where you put it in your home directory or put it in your project storage. And it is shown here how to do that. And I guess we should also take a few minutes and make sure everyone has created such a file, because you will need it to install packages. It should look either like this or but you need to change it to path to your own. So the easiest thing is to just run this one command here. It will simply throw the text that I just put there into this file. So that is the easiest thing. Let's take 2 more minutes to make sure this works, because it's important. Okay, so if you, like I did here at HPC2N, put the stuff into your, put the link to go to your home directory, then that is where you now must create a file that is matching this here for R to save things into. And there need to be one for each version. This one here will replace it with the version you are using. So it will work for each of the options here. So I'm going to exit. No, I'm not going to save it. And at HPC2N, I had put it in my home directory. So I am going to go to my home directory with CD. And since it's misbehaving, I am going to create this directory here, mkdir -p, and then in my home directory. At HPC2N, it is 412, so it needs to be 412. And if your version is a different one, like it is here at the Tetradit, see what version we had here. We have R440, and I had created it in my project storage, as you can see here. So that is where I must make the directory R packages. Do that.
So Birgitte, I have a question.
Yes.
What if the version of R that I used to create my scripts, my project, is very different from the one that's offered at a center? Do I need to then basically reconfigure my script and see how I can run it? Or is there possibility to run a different version of R still, even there's a specific one recommended?
There will be several versions installed usually, so you would first check if the one you want to use is there. If it's not there, you should, and you can't easily change what you have, then you should ask support and say, I really need this version, and this is why. Please install it.
Okay. And
that would be the easiest way, because otherwise you would have to need to install R yourself, and it takes up quite a lot of space. So, so definitely the other ways first.
Good.
Yeah, so you can see this is my directory here. And here I already have one for our packages. I'm going to create another one for these R packages here. That is version 4.0.0. It is now there. And that is the one that is now going to be used, as I'm working with that version in R. So now when you have created such a directory and you have made this file here, then you will go and try and install a package directly from CRAN. And you can either do it on the command line or you can do it from inside of R. And in the case where you do it from the command line, you first have to tell it it's R that's doing something. And quiet just tells it to not throw a large number of stuff to the screen while it's doing so. And it's also telling it to not reuse some things and not save the setups it's using while it's running this. And then it's telling it to do the command install package, execute it. And then you will put the name of the package and then the repo. If you were instead doing it from inside of R, you would just say install the packages and then the package and then the repo. You can give the command without listing the repo, R will ask. And you should always pick the nearest repo. The repos are listed here at the CRAN project, but otherwise R will give you a list to pick from if you don't do this one. So let's try and do an example. And the R package nuggets is, I think, not installed anywhere. And we're going to try and use that. And we'll also use this repository here since it's the nearest one. It's the one that is in Sweden. So if you are installing it from the command line here, let's try and do that. Copy it. And see what happens. And I have unloaded R. Inside of R here. And it's probably going to be yes, because it's asking you there. That is where I hadn't yet installed things, so I'm going to want to use my personal library. Yes, and I will do that. And I say yes, I want to use this one that I just set up. So now it's going to run there for a while, and it can take quite some time because there may be other packages that are needed as well that it can see are needed, and then it will also install those. There will sometimes it cannot find out which prerequisites there are, and in that case you need to install them yourself. But usually it will just go ahead and install the prerequisites as well. But it can take many minutes, so try start it up and let it run. Meanwhile, I will reload R here at HPC to end. Just see what I want. That. But you can see what it's doing here is now it's compiling it after it has downloaded. But it does all that itself, so just running it back. And now it starts doing the same thing at the HPC2, just starting it from outside of R. And there is really no difference between the different centers. The only difference is what modules you load to get R loaded. But there are step-by-step text here on how to do it. And it will take quite a while. So I guess while that is running, and while you also do this, I can just again reiterate places to look for our packages. There's CRAN, there's RForge, there's GitHub pages for whatever project you are in or have found, and many other places. Most will be on CRAN. And you can check with installed packages. And you can also do it by ML Spider and the R version. It will list some of them. And installation can be done either from within R or from the command line. And you can go to CRAN and look for packages there. At some of the centers, almost everything from CRAN is already installed. If you're running at NSC or PDC, then you will need some extra packages for some of the later sessions today. And for instance, for the batch one. And you will need to install for each do parallel on PBD MPI if you're at NSC. And if you're at PDC, you will need to install PBD MPI. It has some problems with RMPI at both places. That is why you're using PBD MPI instead. And at PDC, you also need to install it from a tarball instead. The tarball has been placed in the project storage top directory, so you can just fetch it from there and then just run this command. There is not much to say about this. You won't usually have to install things that are behaving this unfriendly, but this is the R command to install it from with a tarball. And also there it couldn't find MPI, so I needed to tell it to use some extra configuration arguments. But if you are at either of these two centers, just run these commands as well. This from inside R and this from the command line.
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Regarding the Dardel instructions, it says before that the recommended version of R is 4.1.1, and in these instructions it says module load R 4.4.1 and then CPE, GNU something long.
I think we didn't talk together when we made our different sections, so we picked different versions.
Okay, but the CPE, GNU thing, I don't know what that means.
I don't either, but it's if you look at modules at different centers, they will be named differently, and
Okay, right.
it's simply part of the name. It almost certainly means it's compiled for instance, it could sometimes there will be MPI in the name. It means it's compiled for MPI. This probably means it's compiled with a specific compiler they have that works on Cray if it's a Darden or something, things like that.
Okay,
so that
super.
it's
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so ignore that unless it's something you look for specifically.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and in general, keep the same version from if it's a different version in one of these sessions, you can just continue using the same one as long as you just are consistent. Because the one you have installed the packages for is the one you will need to use when you're running or install the packages again. A package you install only installs for a specific version. So if you're using a different version later, you install it again.
Thank you so much.
There is a very short section about installing packages at Bianca. That's the sensitive data center at UPPMAX. We're not going to talk about that here. There are courses about Bianca, but you can just go and read this demo exercise from the Bianca course if you want to use Bianca. But Bianca is not part of the clusters we are working with. And here is just another example here to install it. So, but if you can get the first one to work, then that is fine. Yeah, as you can see, it hasn't even finished yet. It failed here at HPC2N because it has a prerequisite. When you are running it outside from the command line, and it has a prerequisite, it will not always resolve, and you will have to install that first. So it's usually easier to install it from inside. But right now I'll just leave it here to continue because it's not going to finish anytime soon. So I will continue, I believe, to isolated environments with our element, and then just let this run in the background.